Welcome to Duelality Gamecast, game reviews by people who love to play games.
Greetings everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Duelality Gamecast. I'm William Creel, and with me as always my co-host, Matt Robinson.
Hey everybody.
And as you can see, if you're watching our video feed, we have a new set we're building. And not only in the physical world, in the digital world, we have a website up. On it you can find the RSS feed for these podcasts, our latest YouTube videos, some random musings and thoughts from me and Matt, all sorts of fun stuff. So make sure you check that out. There'll be a link right here in the video or in the description for the podcast. So let's start out this video by talking about what we've played since last time. Now, last time we talked about, there was some stuff I wanted to get to. One of the big ones was Legendary Predator.
Yeah.
And we got to it. We got to it a lot. And it got to us a lot.
It got to us a lot.
What was your feelings going into it? Was it what you expected from playing the Alien game?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just learning the first game versus this one, coming right into it, kind of knowing what was going on, but it felt smoother, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but that's probably just because we learned on Alien and went right into Predator. The helper cards, what are they called?
Coordinate cards?
Coordinate cards seemed like a much bigger deal in this game.
It seemed like there was more of them, and unlike an Alien where you just had a static ability that kind of scaled up, it cared about people coordinating with you in this one. So it made you want to do that more. Like it kind of forced it to make more team play. That was cool.
Yeah, very thematic. I like that a lot. It's a hard game, though. We haven't won yet.
No. One time I got to see the chopper, but that was it. That was it. I don't know. We played that quite a few times.
We have.
And do you think we're going to beat it anytime soon?
If we keep the same group of people and we start talking more in games, coordinating more, I think we can beat it. But this is the kind of game that I think it's one of those games that every time you get new people, you're probably going to lose. Because, man, we're going to have to know exactly, like, be on point, do what we need to do, play our coordinate cards, talk about what the best play is every turn, because it gets super hard. And it's one of those games, seems like maybe gets harder to win the more people you have.
Definitely.
Because the threats are coming out that much faster.
You don't have as much time to build up your deck to be good.
And it's funny, too, because you get the free turn at the beginning where you get like a free buy, basically.
If you're playing a 5-player game.
Yeah, if you're playing a 5-player game where the Predators don't get to thump you before you get to buy something, right?
Right.
And we've skip that one time, and it didn't feel any different.
No, it still died right away.
The difficulty didn't go up appreciably. It's still just hard all around. We haven't played the Predator as Predators Hunting Humans version, though.
Yeah, and that one seems like it plays more like the Marvel Legendary one. It seems like it's more just like a deck builder for points.
Yeah, that seemed more like, it's competitive, so it's just getting points. So I don't know if I'm even excited to play that way, but maybe.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be Marvel with less story. There wasn't a lot in the Marvel one, so yeah. But then on the flip side, from crazy cooperative, super intense Legendary, we also played Botswana.
Well, I owned you guys at Botswana.
Yes, you did, man. Yes, you did. Now, go.
I love Botswana. I mean, it's a cute little filler game. It's got plastic animals like you could get out of a gumball machine in the 80s, basically. Little elephants, rhinos, zebras, leopards,
and something
animal.
else. Yeah, something else cool.
But it's like kind of it's Reiner Knizia, or at least he adapted some other game to be Botswana. And it's a kind of a set playing game. I like that game. It's really simple, really light. It was actually, Dylan that wanted to bring it to the table because he likes the light games.
Yes, and quick. He likes short gameplay. That's his go-to.
And it fills both of those for sure.
But it still has enough competition in it. And it's because I think it's Ancestors Logo, I think is what it was called, or something like that. But yeah, it's a game that used to just be played with poker chips. Mm-hmm. Now they replace poker chips with animals. It's a simple game where you're just playing cards from your hand, and basically when you've played all of one animal type, the game is over, and whatever value is on top of the stack is how much you collected. So you're just collecting, like, I'm going zebra, and then everybody else tries to tank zebras for you. It's fun.
Yeah. And it's ripe for a remake, I think. I'm always talking about changing it to like a genre mashup game with zombies and pirates and things. It totally could be that. We played Deus. Actually, we taught somebody how to play Deus.
Yes.
That was kind of cool.
And he hopped right in and played it right away. Like there wasn't there was like maybe the first round he was a little iffy on, but Deus is one of the other games I think I wanted to play. I'm glad we got to the table. I enjoy it greatly. I like that finite engine building in it, where basically you build an engine, and each time you add a piece to it, it activates all the other cards in the chain, but they max out at 5 cards. Then you can't activate that chain anymore. I just like that idea where you're growing your civilization, but you top out, and then you have to go into like kind of a different avenue or try to spread it around. And because it's all card driven, and basically the actions you're going to play are cards from your hand that you put down that do this, you can burn cards, like you can spend multiple rounds in that game just burning cards for resources, building up, and then have multiple turns in a row where you're chaining, actually building your combos together. And it seems like I've seen people come out the gate and they're just playing every card that's helpful and useful for them, and I've seen people come and play the long game, and both seem to be viable. And because the long game you're getting more victory points and everything for the cards you're playing, the other one you're coming out quick and you're getting just all sorts of small incremental growth, and I like that.
I also like that you can play a lot of different strategies. Typically when we play Deus, I'm looking for, there's the blue trade card, the Sea God, where you set up economic chains, buy a good for cheap, sell it for more kind of thing, and you trigger that multiple times, and somewhere in there is a point gain card too. So typically I use that engine, and I'll try to build temples along with it. This last time, I didn't really do that at all. I went for the science buildings and the production buildings, but the production building focus victory points. And the science buildings give you a lot of victory points for checking things. And they have cards that let you replay other cards from different rows. And I did pretty well, and I was like, hey, there are other avenues. I didn't build a single temple in that game, and I scored really well. Yeah, Deus, really solid. Then back in the filler department, another Dylan request, we played Las Vegas, which is a dice-based game. It's a gambling theme. You have little casino tiles. They got money on them. Everyone has a pool of dice. They roll. The tiles are numbered, 1 to 6.
Yep.
From your roll, you pick one set of numbers, and you assign it to the matching casino. At the end of the round, when everyone's out of dice, whoever's the majority on each tile collects the best money from that tile, and then there's possibility of second and third. I think you play like 4 rounds. Really simple game.
But it has the cool thing of ties cancel both of you out. And I love that mechanic. So you'll have 2 people who will invest a ton of dice, and someone will, near the end of the game, will roll like 1 3, and they're like, I'll put this 3 on there. There's no way I can get anything. And those 2 people who are competing through luck and through pushing it too much end up with the same, like they both end up with 5 dice. They put like all their dice on the number 3. Yeah. That person who put 1 dice in at the end of the game kind of as an afterthought gets the points because both those people are too greedy and match each other too close. And I like that mechanic because it's kind of push your luck, but it's also kind of like push your stupid. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, and it's cool because you can get a little thinky, like, okay, average-wise, what's the best play here? You know, you're considering the reward from money versus using that many dice from your dice pool versus going up against the dice of someone else. So there's a thinkiness, but then there's also a smack talking, take that aspect to it.
Yep.
I'm going to put it here now because you're giving me crap. So it's a fun light game, but thinky enough to bring it back to the table, I guess, right?
Yes.
Smash Up. We play Smash Up again.
We play that all the time.
And here's what I've noticed. We got the Munchkin expansion for Smash Up at Gen Con. And we've played it twice, I think, with the Munchkin cards. And the game, like we've talked about this, the game is allegedly or theoretically just for up to 4 players. Mm-hmm. And we've always felt like in the past that, you can play more than 4 players, but it does make the game go longer. I feel like the last 2 games we played, and maybe it's the experience level of the players, or it's the power levels of the factions, I'm not sure, or a little of both. I felt like those games did not drag.
I agree.
I thought they were competitive and aggressive and fast. And this last game we had, I think we figured out almost every expansion represented in the cards people were using. And we played, 5-player game?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just it, is that I think part of it's us. I think even more than the actual expansion, like character classes, where you want to say that you mix together the factions, it's the bases. Some of the bases, like the first set had bases with, like, every time a guy is here, gets killed, you get a victory point. Mm-hmm. Well, they've started to kind of redo those themes, but tweak them slightly. So there's multiple bases now that give you victory points when you do stuff. There's multiple bases that give you extra plays when you do stuff. Yeah. Where before it was like a one-off in the thing. Now there's times where like 2 of them are on the board at the time, and it facilitates, because since that game you have 1 monster play, 1 action play. As soon as you start getting extra, it just goes off. Yeah. Also, I didn't play the princesses this time. And one of the things I love the princesses because they're just a bunch of big power faction. All the princesses are big numbers, but one of the ones that always comes up is that one that limits the extra plays.
Yeah, she shuts people down.
And I know she always frustrates you. And I know she frustrates a lot of people, and she's my least favorite one to play because she doesn't do anything to help me out. Yeah. But she shows up. She's a big body. I throw her on the board, and it just stalls out the game. And I think that, like, because of the way that game works, one effect like that can completely change the pace of the game. Because the reason why, it's probably experienced players, our players are getting better at comboing stuff together. I feel like I'm getting worse. I'm getting worse at mixing factions. The last few times I've been very unhappy with the way I've mixed them. But people are coming up with these cool, like, chaining combos that, like, I didn't really think about going into it between 2 factions. And I think that's what's also happening is people are because we're playing the same group of people, they're kind of learning the mechanics of the game and learn how to exploit them.
We're almost building a tournament structure because of how much we've played, and people are thinking so deep about the combinations. Yeah, we should have a tournament.
Oh yeah.
And then I've been suggesting for a while that we get an older game out. It's actually a game that we reviewed like our first or second month of doing the YouTube videos, Istanbul. And our last game session, we got it out, and we actually got to teach new people how to play it, and got our butts handed to us, me especially, but one of the new players really just killed us. And it was funny because we had played it 2 players so much that I think I wasn't really prepared for the limitations of options when you have more players on the board. Like,
absolutely,
people are taking the tiles that you're used to just being able to cruise over and grab. You're having to pay people. People are getting ahead of you on the whole point of the game is to collect rubies. First person to a certain ruby threshold wins the game. And you get those either by doing certain tile actions first or completely, or buying. You can straight up buy them, or you can trade in goods for them. It is kind of a worker placement game at its heart. And was it 4 players we played?
Yep.
Yeah, with 4 players, it became more of that thinky, aggressive worker placement than what you see when you play that game 2 players. 2 players, a lot more freedom.
Well, and one of the big ones was the special abilities that I felt. Because since we played a lot 2 players, there's special abilities that you have to have so many of a certain resource on your cart in order to purchase. At the beginning of the game, you can only have 2 of any one resource on your cart. Yeah. And that's the starting cost for those things. So when we're playing a 2-player game, anybody can run up to any one of those tiles and buy them at the beginning. And then you have to upgrade your cart once to add to its space, not a hard thing to do, to upgrade to the next level. We were, though, in a 4-player game, first person goes and grabs something, and you're like, oh man, I need to upgrade my cart. Well, someone else had already gone down to upgrade the cart when you were going up there to do that thing. And then you end up in this, like, behind the
You're chasing them.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and it's something that, I don't think we were prepared for, and the people who had never played before didn't expect it to work the way we did, and they just, so I'm blaming it on newbie genius. I don't know. It's almost like not having that experience seemed to make it work way faster and smoother for them.
Yeah, I'd also say that, upgrading your cart to hold more goods is a fundamental strategy. And we did the good game teacher thing. We told them up front that was a fundamental strategy, and they just ran with it.
Yeah.
And we suffered for it. But that's okay. What else did we play?
Gravwell.
Yeah.
I think we've done a review for that recently.
Yeah.
is another one that we keep going back to. We keep having fun. Every time we play it, though, our brains break. It's like because it has the whole pushing and pulling away from the closest ship, and then the fact that like tiebreaker in case of emergency is how many people are on each side of you. I don't know how many times I made the mistake where I play something like, aha, and you guys are like, no, William, you go the opposite direction. I'm like, and that seems to happen, I feel like more. The more I play it, it's like the more I trick myself into thinking it works a different way. But still, it's a fun game. The drafting aspect of it is interesting because I feel like earlier on I paid a lot of attention to the draft. And then I've realized now like it doesn't make as big of a difference. If there's a big number, you might want to grab that. But I almost feel like you could, on some level, deal them out. I feel like maybe the draft is almost like a Trojan horse. Like it's kind of tricking me into thinking it's something it's not. It's like reverse the Trojan horse. I think it's important, but then I feel like it's not when I actually play.
I think other players' plays change the board state so much that the draft gets watered down for sure. I think also it's almost probably more of a, which I don't think either of us are that great at, it's more of a card counting mechanism.
Yes.
You're supposed to really, it's a Mensa game, you're supposed to watch what people pick up and factor that into your decisions. And I don't think we always are very good at doing
Nope.
Or we don't want to. Maybe we just want to have fun.
Well, that's just it. Like, my memory isn't good enough to do that, and I don't want to take notes.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what's making it fun for me. And games that have that mechanic, like, I know I really like Gravwell, but I feel like games that rely on player memory when it could just be public knowledge, I always feel like a cheat to me. Because it's like, it'd be like you're playing a board game, and they're like, okay, but who has the best grip strength? That's what matters in this card game. It's like, why? Well, you have to squeeze this thing in order to play your spells. Why would that be in a game? And I just feel like we're taking, that's my analogy for saying the memory aspect of it. It's something that not everyone's good, but people might still have a strong analytical mind and still be able to play the game very well if they had all the information, but they just can't retain it.
That's true. And it's kind of like, different people have different strengths. So some people are going to maybe be better at the memory retention part of it, while other people are more of the planners and the strategy makers, which is usually what these games that we talk about have more in them. So this game's a little different from the norm for sure.
And then the last game we played a lot of, and it's going to be our review for this week, is Xeno Shift.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get on to that.
For 150 years, the Nortec Corporation has mined the expanses of space. Now, on one of their far-flung mining operations, a base has come under threat from a hive of alien terrorists. You and your partners represent the divisions of the vast Nortec military, sent to defend the base long enough to get what they need and escape. You bring the science, the medical, the armory, weapons research and development, barracks, and the command functions. And that is the game Xeno Shift, which we're going to review today. William, how does this game play?
Well, it is a deck builder. It is a lane defense game. It is cooperative. It's the deck building aspect of it's pretty straightforward. You're going to start with a deck of cards. You're going to draw so many. I believe it's 6. In your hand, you're going to have resources and dudes to put down on the board. You also draw a resource every turn. So no matter what, you're always going to have some money to spend. The game is played over 3 waves, and each wave has 3 rounds in it. On your turn, you're going to take your money, everyone all at the same time, buy all the dudes and all the equipment you want for them, and defend your lane. Basically, on your side, there's 4 spots for each player that you can put down a person in, and you can put 1 piece of weaponry, 1 piece of armor on them, and hope they can stand against the horde. Then, after everyone's done that, you put down all of the alien cards, face down, 4 of them also next to everybody. Then, picking 1 player to be the start player, you reveal the first alien, and they smash into each other, your side and their side. And it's pretty straightforward. Basically, the aliens have an attack and a health. All of your dudes have an attack and a health. The front 2 people run into each other. They do their damage to each other. If one side or the other dies, you remove that card, and they keep going. If you fight and the aliens end up taking out your 4 guys, or how many guys you have, any remaining aliens left, do that much damage to your base, which starts at 15 health per times the number of players. Some of the unique aspects of this, though, are you can play cards with other players' dudes. You can give people other player dudes. So each faction that you play as has special bonuses. Me as a player, I can buy people because maybe that's my special ability is buy people cheap. And then I can say, oh no, Matt needs help. I can throw down one of my guys in his lane when we're setting up, and now it's his. So when your guys die or they get cleared off, they go in your discard pile. You shuffle them back up, and you're going to be drawing more later on. If I play something in Matt's turn because it's his now, it goes in his discard pile. So there's an interesting part of this game is buying stuff and then kind of throwing that gun to your opponent or whatever it is, or not your opponent, your friend. Not opponents. Your opponents are the cards. It has a really interesting feel to it. And it's something that we've managed to win once, but it's hard.
Very hard.
More players doesn't really make the game easier. It makes the game more even, which is interesting. Because since each person's defending their own lane, and you just hit points at times the number of players, it's not like adding more or having less players changes how hard the game is, but it lets, if I have a good turn and I have an extra dude that turn I bought, I can throw them to you, so it kind of evens out the air. So it makes the game slightly easier, but really just more of sends off the rough edges, which I really like. Matt, what do you think about the art and components in the game?
The art for Xeno Shift is top-notch. This is a cool mini or not game. No minis in this game. This is the or not part. Yeah. One of their first or nots, I think. The art is just spot on. This game is very evocative of an alien and Aliens probably would be more accurate. Sort of movie theme, and Starship Troopers is the other game.
Yes.
The other theme that this really has in it.
It's darker Starship Troopers.
It's like Aliens and Starship Troopers put together. And the art is just this beautiful painting quality art on all the cards, on the cover, on the rule book. Gorgeous. The iconography also, I think, really simple and clean. You've got a nice clean text box. Very simple, you need to know your attack and your toughness and any modifiers from equipment. And it's all really easy to read. The pictures on the cards, once you've played this game a few times, you start to just spot, oh, that's the guy that attacks from the back row or something. You're like, So it's really good. If I was going to nitpick, it would only be very low. Serious, this is going deep nitpick, but the card backs, for me, thematically, they seem like they're from a different game, or they seem like they're Mark I graphic design compared to the beautiful art on the inside of these cards. I bring it up every time we play, but the Hive card back looks like artwork from Sentinels of the Multiverse to me for whatever reason. Yep. It just doesn't feel right for this theme and all the portrait type art in the game. The other one, the Nortec card back, looks like, I'm not saying I could, but it's near what I could produce in an Adobe program. So a little bit of a disconnect, but everything else is gorgeous. You got a nice dial. Cardstock, again, I say this all the time. It's just a real standard semi-gloss finished cardstock, but it's fine. These lanes are nice little things. I think you got a play mat, right?
Yes, it was one of the bonuses you got me, actually, at Gen Con.
Cool mini or not. Made some really nice mats. I don't know if you can buy those now or if that was just a Gen Con thing, but it's really nice neoprene kind of mat. So overall, I really I love the art. Totally happy with the game. Only I have to nitpick to complain for art and component quality. So William, given all this, how would you rate this game?
I'm going to say, for right now, the way I'm feeling, I'm giving it a must-buy. I'm enjoying this game a ton. It has just the right amount of you're doing your own thing, but you can help other people, but you can kind of you can throw grenades in other people's lanes, so you can kind of assist, but it has that cool, I know when we played, I've been like, oh, this is going to kill me. Can you throw me a grenade? And the guy's like, well, but I want to save this for my turn. Should I? And then we all kind of argue back and forth at the table, but it's that fun, cooperative element where, I don't know, it's great. I want it. I'm glad I got it. It's definitely a must-buy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with love it. I don't think I could commit to a must-buy, but it's a really strong game. Deck builders have to be more and more unique all the time, I think, because it's a genre or a subgenre of board gaming now that's been done a lot. And they've made this pretty unique. It kind of deck builder plus cooperative plus tower defense. It feels like its own thing. It doesn't feel like other games. So definitely a love it for me. Hope there's expansions. I'd really love to see more getting added into this game. So yeah, love it.
All right, guys, that was our Xeno Shift review. Let us know in the comments if you played it and what you think. And on to Matt for the news.
All right, so let's talk about some news for September 2015. That's awesome. I'm going to start with some publisher news. First off, Plaid Hat. Plaid Hat has been talking about a new game based in the Mice and Mystics world, which is a very popular story-driven game that they have about little mice warriors on adventures. Kid-friendly, but apparently adults enjoy it quite a bit too. Kind of a takeoff on the Redwall books, the fantasy mice adventure books.
Cool-looking miniatures.
Yeah, cool-looking miniatures, good component quality. Well, they have a game coming out called Tail Feathers, and this is actually a skirmish game in that world. The game I saw miniatures for it standing in line at the Plaid Hat booth at Gen Con. In fact, a guy explaining the game a little bit in there was the reason I had to wait in that line so long. But that's okay. The miniatures were beautiful. And the whole idea of this game is you have basically mouse knights flying on birds, tail feathers, fighting a skirmish. And there's also ground troops. And I think it's 2 to 4 players. You set up a board. There are scenarios in the box, but you can do customizable point-by-style games.
Cool.
It's kind of neat. You lay out sort of like tree branches to build your battle, and you set nests in the tree branches, and that's basically like your base or spawn point. And then from there, your ground troops will walk out, and your tail feathers, your flying units will fly out. The miniatures, the bird miniatures have adjustable wings, which indicate how their movement's going to be affected. And so it's this neat little mechanic where you can see the position of your opponent's bird's wings to kind of figure out what they're going after that turn.
If they're going up or down.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And then there's missions you can lay out on the table that your ground troops will try to get to and accomplish throughout the game. So it's got this neat, these jousting mouse knights on birds, but also these sort of cannon fodder, for lack of a better term, ground troops running around on the table doing stuff. Looks pretty neat. It has gorgeous miniatures. It's supposed to release in the fall. Okay. Next is Gale Force 9. Their game, one of the members of our gaming group is very excited about this game. It is the WWE Superstar Showdown. Gale Force 9 also makes some other big IP stuff. The one notable to me is Spartacus. They also have a Penny Dreadful game. They do a lot of IP work. So this game has either 2 players fighting each other with wrestlers in an arena, basically, or you can play in teams and do like tag team kind of stuff. You can even do tournament style and get kind of advancements for your wrestlers as you play through the tournament. It's got a card-driven kind of mechanic where you're going to play up to 3 cards a turn, and they have abilities on them, but they also have a rock, paper, scissors sort of mechanic on them, and you have to win that part of the rock, paper, scissors matchup to set off your ability, move your miniature around, and do cool moves. You also you're trying to pin people. I think if you get like 3 successes in a row, you can pin somebody. And then there's a special card called Kickoff, which is how you get out of your pin. Miniatures are pretty nice. They're the modern stable of WWE wrestlers, which I really don't know much about at all. But supposedly they will be coming out with, more classic wrestlers, which will be more fun for some of us old people. I call Roddy Piper already. It's 2 to 6 players, and I think this one's it's actually in stores now. Actually, just not at our friendly local game store, but allegedly it's in stores now.
Well, and Gale Force 9 has done a good job of making board games based on like TV stuff and actually making games out of them, not just throwing they're actually trying to make a game that feels like what it is. And from the little bit I've seen of this, it looks like they made a hoot and hollering, throwing down some cards, pinning people. It feels like it could be a game that if you get into a little bit, especially if you're into WWE, it seems like you could, all the smack talk and everything, it seems like it could be pretty fun.
Yep, I think so. And I know at least one person that will buy it in our group. All right, I also want to talk about Cryptozoic. They got a couple big IP games coming out, one of which we saw at Gen Con a little bit. Portal, the uncooperative cake acquisition game. This game is a modular board game, where each player has a group of test subjects that they're sending through a complex. They're trying to gather things, including cake. But the complex will, over time, start falling apart. Like, floors will just disappear. And you're moving them through rooms or portaling them through rooms, trying to get stuff. And there's some crazy mechanics. I don't know all the details yet, but if a room collapses and you have the most people in that room that die, you get cake, that kind of thing. There's also a mechanic where you have to get things your test subject find back to the lab, but there's always the possibility that the lab will crumble. It looks like fun. One thing I would say in the preview images and stuff is you get one turret robot, which, was there ever just one, really?
When they were first introducing them to you, there was one. But yeah, it seemed like there's always a bunch.
Yeah, you get one. Everyone gets a bunch of generic kind of silhouette-looking test subjects. You don't see them. You're just silhouettes. And there's three-dimensional rooms. It looks like, which is kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in this. Dylan is really excited about it because he loves Portal. This could be fun. Definitely a big IP for Cryptozoic. That's supposed to come out in the fall.
Let's see.
The other one is Ghostbusters. This is a pretty darn successful Kickstarter for Cryptozoic. It's a cooperative board game. The basis of it is the Ghostbusters comic book. So you'll see a lot of the art from the comic book.
Okay.
No movie stills or anything. But it is a cooperative, mission-based kind of game. It supposedly, I think, plays solo or, up to 4 players, I want to say.
That would make sense.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. So this game was very successful on Kickstarter. That's supposed to hit holiday, winter time. I think that one's going to.
Hopefully they can make it. Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, especially the new movie coming out. Who knows? All right, so that's some publishing stuff. I want to talk a little bit about crowdfunding, the world of Kickstarter. Few interesting games I wanted to bring up. There's a game out there right now called Recall of Cthulhu.
Recall of Cthulhu.
This is a children's memory matching game with a Cthulhu theme.
So it's like a flip over?
Exactly. So it's made at least in part by I think they're called the My First Cthulhu, the plushie Cthulhu people.
Okay.
And it's basically a tiles out, flip them, remember where they are. That's the base game. And then there's an advanced game where there's abilities on those tiles that can be triggered. And it has sort of the Hello Kitty, Hello Cthulhu, cutesy art. So it's kind of like, for cool nerd parents with dark senses of humor to play with their kids. Right now, that's at $2,800 basically they only have a $7,000 goal. I guess it's a simple card game, so what do they need, right? And they still have 21 days to go on that one. Another one is some friends of ours, the folks at Leader Games, have Trove the Crystal Caverns, still on Kickstarter. We did a preview video for them quite a while back. The game's gone through a ton of play testing. They're still working on it. And the Kickstarter is doing really well. They're at about $45,000 right now out of an $18,000 goal.
They're like 260% funded.
Yeah, totally funded. And they still have 16 days to go. Trove is a dungeon delving themed game with a very unique mechanic that every player it's asymmetrical. One player is a knight going into the dungeon, the cave actually, to kill the dragon. One player is the dragon. One player is tribes of goblins running in and out of the shadows trying to kill the knight. And then for funsies, one player is the cavern trying to kill everybody. So it's very asymmetrical, very unique, has a lot of fun theme, has a great sort of lighthearted art style. We had a ton of fun previewing it, and it's going to be a really good Kickstarter. And then one last one that's doing really well on Kickstarter I wanted to bring up was Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is already at about $98,000. They had a pretty big starter goal, $70,000, with 25 days to go, though. This is a cooperative, card-driven, tactical combat game. You are a group of fantasy mercenaries, and you're playing a kind of ongoing campaign. They describe it as an ever-changing campaign world. So you can get gear and advance. And the cooperative part of it comes in because the game is completely AI driven. Like the bad guys are completely AI. It's got some beautiful miniatures, some really nice looking maps, and I think that's gotten a lot of people's attention because it's already overfunded very early on in Kickstarter. So that's Gloomhaven. So that's enough game news. I have one geek culture news bite I want to talk about. As we're recording this, Force Friday had just happened. We know some people that went, some in costume even. This started on midnight, September 3rd. Basically, it was a release of a bunch of new Star Wars merchandise, centered on Force Awakens, obviously, through some big chains. Toys R Us, Target, Walmart, even there was items at Petco, like Star Wars themed pet merchandise.
All right, cool.
Fantasy Flight rolled out a brand new starter set of X-Wing just for Force Awakens. So it's got the newer Force Awakens base ships in it. So it was a big deal. Think of it kind of like Black Friday for Star Wars. People were lined up waiting to get in. There are estimates right now of merchandise sales up to like $1 billion. Yeah. They're even guessing, some people are guessing $4 billion worldwide, which is crazy. My favorite item was the BB-8 robot. BB-8, unless you've been living under a rock, is the new droid for the new Star Wars movies. A ball with a head that rolls around with the ball and moves all over the place. A little cute guy. Well, they've got a replica robot. It can be driven by your smartphone. It has some motion detection ability. It makes cool little cutie chirp noises. It'll respond to your voice. It'll jam around. Whatever magnet technology they used for the movie one has been replicated apparently for the toy, because I've watched videos of it, and his little head that floats on top of the ball does move like all over. It's not like weird little channels or anything. He looks really good. It's $150.
That's what they're making $1 billion from right there.
Yeah, but I want one really bad. Now, the downside of this is that people are complaining that retailers just didn't have enough merchandise. That, the first 100 people lined up into their store were just picking clean the toys, the action figures, the Legos. And so, lots of people were lined up and waiting, and by the time they get in there, there's nothing left, or nothing cool left.
Right.
So, maybe, because this Force Friday thing is all new, a new idea. And,
yeah.
I'm sure if they count up all the money next year, if they wanted to do something like this again, they'd probably be way more prepared, although they wouldn't have a movie next year.
They'll have a movie, right? Or is
it'll be
anthology
after the movie,
one?
and I think they're every 2 years, right?
Yeah, but there's the anthology ones between the main ones. So maybe there'll still be something out around that time.
Okay, all right. You're absolutely right. So we'll see. Force Friday next year. That's it for the news. William, you wanted to talk about Kickstarter.
Yeah, I just want to bring up some thoughts I'd had. I like Kickstarter. I've Kickstarted a game on it. I've backed some stuff on Kickstarter. And Kickstarter lives on the internet. People have a lot of strong opinions on the internet. But there's this big divide in people. There's people who actually absolutely loathe and hate Kickstarter, the very idea of it. They think anything revolving board games, if something's Kickstarted, it's ruining everything. And there's other people who love Kickstarter. Like, there's a whole culture of people who they kickstart things on stuff. They make their own Kickstarters. They kickstart more stuff. It's like a little community that's growing and growing and growing. And I'm just wondering why there seems to be such like dislike and hatred towards it. Because it's something that from my standpoint, it's something that lets people who are creative get their ideas out. The original concept wasn't for board games, is like what my view of it is right now. And there's a lot of other stuff going on there with Kickstarter. But the idea is you have a creative idea, you don't have the funding, you say, look, world, I want to make this. Do you want to back me? And if enough people feel like it's a good idea, or they just want to support you, you get your idea out there. It's grown. It's got to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And it seems like just people now are almost like scared of it. Like it's going to make something bad happen. Where do you stand on the Kickstarter thing? Are you pro? Are you con? Are you kind of eh?
I like Kickstarter a lot. I've supported quite a few projects on Kickstarter. I have trouble. I don't feel bad for Kickstarter because those guys are making a ton of money. But in a sense, I feel bad for them because they cannot win. Like, there are people who hate Kickstarter because of some fraudulent practices of some Kickstarter folks. There are people who hate Kickstarter because there are legitimate game publishers using Kickstarter to fund games, and they don't feel like legitimate publishers should need to kickstart things, or this is for indie people. But then there are people now, and this will tell you how far Kickstarter's gone, who hate most of Kickstarter because they think it's amateur and underproduced, and they're expecting like out of the box, gorgeous miniatures, gorgeous boards, completely tested rules, and like they're using Kickstarter as a pre-order and not as a crowdfunding device. So I don't understand any of those people. Kickstarter is what it is. I like to look through Kickstarter, see the different projects. I did it for the news today, but I do it all the time. Last one I personally backed was the Conan board game, which I'm super excited about. But I've backed a lot, and I star a bunch of them. I follow a bunch of them. I think Kickstarter can be for anybody: the publisher, the amateur, and the indie guy. It can fit any of those niches, and it's more about you as the backer deciding what you like and not getting offended if there's something you don't like on Kickstarter.
Well, and that's the whole thing for me, is people seem to be so upset, like, why did this person kick back or start this project? They shouldn't have done it. They weren't prepared. And my thoughts are, like, the core, like the small group of people who are just coming to Kickstarter, like, I have this idea for this game, I want to make it. They don't know how the publishing industry works. They don't know how the printing works. They haven't done everything. And you have to look at people like that and like, oh, okay, this person has never made anything before. This is their first Kickstarter project. Am I willing to pay $45 to maybe see their idea come to life and me get it? Or do I not want to take that gamble? Because it is a gamble. If nothing gets produced, well, you're out that money. But without it, that idea would never even exist, because there's so many things out there. I mean, the game industry is growing. It's growing every day. There's tons of games coming out. But as we're seeing, the same thing happens with the movie industry and everything else. Sequels, IPs being reused again. I mean, how much Star Wars stuff is there? We love Star Wars, but how much Star Wars stuff is there? Everything is based off of something else now. And it's hard because that's what sells, and that's what's good, and that's what people love. And we love it. We love those games. But do you want some little indie trick-taking card game thing? Well, that's the industry. Any big publisher isn't going to want to back that right now because it's not worth. I mean, they'll make money, but it's not worth the investment of time. So that's where the Kickstarter stuff can come in. Same time, big companies are like, I don't know if this is if we can make money at this. Let's not even make it because it's a gamble. Now they can go to Kickstarter and say, hey, do enough people want to take this that we feel safe with it? Yeah? All right, cool. Well, we'll throw all of our stuff into it and get it produced. Those are safe Kickstarters, right? Like, I'm never worried about a bigger publisher who's Kickstarting stuff and them not following through on their game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. It's weighing stuff, being educated, and not being scared, and not being angry. And I just don't see where all the hate is. It's Kickstarter's there to get creative people to make creative projects and let you just experience something new. So back stuff if you want, don't if you want, but don't be worried about it. Now, I'll quit my rambling. Let's go on to final topic of the day, which is going to be, what do we want to play and bring to the table?
So, you were much more successful
I think
after our last episode getting to play what you wanted to play.
I think everything I listed made it to the table.
Yeah, I didn't do so good. But rather than repeat myself, I'm going to put a couple more that are on my mind.
All right.
Spartacus, which we mentioned in the news, sort of, from Gale Force 9. I really enjoy that game. They have I bought the first expansion for it, which expanded to 6 players, added more cards and gladiators. There's another expansion out right now, although again, our friendly local game store doesn't have it, which adds more uniqueness to the gladiators. You know, they have their own custom models, and I think better cards to make them more unique, and more stuff to the game in general. So I really enjoy that game. It's a weird mix of kind of Euro resource thing and fighting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat how they blended those.
Yeah, and gambling too, which is awesome. So I'd really like to play that game again. And the other one I want to play is actually one that a person in our game group I really love. The person in our game group said he wanted to play recently, which surprised me, with Study in Emerald.
Oh, yeah.
Study in Emerald is a Martin Wallace game that I really love. It's maybe a little fiddly, a little old school now, but it's worth it because the theme is this crazy alternate reality where the elder gods of H.P. Lovecraft have kind of subverted the world and control the world, and the players can be loyalists to them or rebels, and it's got hidden loyalties in it, and it's got world hopping and backstabbing and craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really neat game, and it's different every time. I mean, you can go from just straight Cthulhu baddies one time to a zombie horde has been unleashed on the world. And I just think it's a really unique game. They're apparently making a newer, cleaned up version of it that some people are a little worried about because it sounds like they might streamline some of it, but it is a little fiddly. So I'm definitely going to give that game a chance when it comes out. So Study in Emerald. How about you?
One of the big ones that we played recently, like a month or so ago, but haven't played too much at all lately, is Forbidden Stars.
Oh, yeah.
That game's kind of lengthy. I know it's got a bad rap on our group because some people played it without us there, and it took them like all day, like 9 hours or something ridiculous for them to play one game of it. And so people are a little timid to hop back into it again, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I think you liked it, if I remember right. Maybe we'll have to play some 2-player of it, or maybe get a 3-player game. I like the 4-player game of it. It does get a little lengthy with that, but had tons of fun with it. It's a unique... I love the battle system in it because you're fighting, but it's not about annihilating your opponent. It's about holding.
Yeah.
And that the whole morale system in it where, you could just be annihilating me, but in the end, my people held and the morale's higher, so your people have to leave. It's a cool mechanic. It's something that I haven't seen any other real war games handle well. I love it. The second game is an oldie but a goodie, and that's Puerto Rico.
Ooh, Wayback Machine.
We have 2 versions of it.
Yeah.
I have the original version. You have the one with the expansion.
Blinged out Anniversary Edition.
One of those has to make it to the table. That was one of our first, after Catan, that was one of our first major board game purchases we made.
Yeah, that was a deep one for us.
And that kind of got us going on this whole meaty board game thing. And I feel like it deserves more time, more love.
It's often accused of being solved, but I don't think our group's considered.
We haven't solved it yet, no. And we don't spend the time on the forums talking. Like, we haven't tried to solve it. either. So I think that's part of it is we haven't had that discussion, but we enjoy it. I think all of us playing it, and it's something that'd be cool to go back to now because we haven't played it in 2 years, maybe
a year.
Maybe
it's been a while.
But we played a lot of stuff since then. I think it's gonna be fun to go back and see it and be like, oh yeah, that's where that mechanic in this game came from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hey, that's where this came from, and just to see that kind of like flashback type of a thing.
Yeah, kind of an old world game, kind of like Le Havre when we played that. It felt like an older game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Okay, guys, that is our podcast for this bye-week. Make sure to join us next time, and don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on iTunes, or check out our website for the RSS feed. Don't forget to check out our videos on YouTube. We'll throw all those links up, and thank you guys for watching.
Thank you. What do you call a kid with no arms, no legs, and an eye patch?
A pirate kid? I don't know what.
Names.
Oh, that's not nice.